Hello and welcome to the next lesson of this course. In this lesson, we're going to start treating the first element of the course, which is fire. And I'm going to get the reference that I had before in order to better explain what I meant about the basic concepts I highlighted by myself to try and explain how to do this. And well, as you see, fire presents a series of closed curves that are joined by this kind of nodes, so to speak, that end in a sharp angle. Okay, so this way we get a similar result to this. It's a matter of generating those curves and making them end in those edgy corners, like if they were paws. Once we've generated this shape, we go on to the coloring stage. The first thing we're going to do is to generate a stain with low opacity and an orange tone, and then we're going to create a brush with a slight smooth dispersion, so to speak. And we're going to bring the flow down, and this way we're going to generate some kind of stain similar to this one right here. We're going to do all this in a different layer. I mean, the clearest stain, the one underneath, will be in a different layer than the one on the top. We're going to apply Gaussian blur to the one underneath, so this would be the result. We're going to create a new layer in order to work with this tone here. As you see, we're already generating its particular shape. We can play around with the blending modes now. For example, I'm going to play with a screen filter, and I'm going to slightly erase it with a diffused edge eraser on top. The result would be like this. The next step will be grouping these layers and erasing with the shapes that we mentioned before. I'm going to use a hard eraser, and I'm going to keep doing these kind of shapes we were talking about, erasing with this series of curves in order to generate the effect we want when creating the fire. As you see, little by little we create that look in the flames we were seeing as a reference. And depending on the size that you make it or the amount of corners that you draw, it will be more or less realistic. If you also want to apply some dispersion on the highest point of the flame, it's okay too. In this case, I'm toying around with screen and overlay. I'm not interested in the other ones, because fire is a source of light, and hence I don't want it to represent any kind of darkness as far as filters are concerned. And here we would have kind of the final flame. What we can do is add little details that can be applied to the screen effect, the one that illuminates. And well, now it's all about some more orange with overlay, erasing some of the top layer so it's not too exaggerated. And there we would have the fire. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to work on this one and show you that we can change the color, modify different parameters, so the results are even more impressive. Well, I made a copy using Ctrl-J, and with Ctrl-U, you can modify the color. Then you can transform it with Ctrl-T, adding things, playing with the possibilities that Photoshop offers when drawing. Next, we're going to take as a reference this fire here, because I want to apply it over a surface, because this is like a hovering flame. So I'm going to find a way to apply it, so you can see it has a motion that can be used not only as a hovering flame. So for this, what I'll try to do is sorry, I'm organizing the layers here, so sorry. So what I'm going to try is modify these brushes to see the best way I have to represent it, but I think I'm going to end up drawing a hand. I'm going to create a hand which will be like it's holding the fire or it's generating it, and this way I will play with the hand shape in order to give some motion to this element. You can use any object to practice with it. It doesn't have to necessarily be a hand. You can try with other kind of, I don't know, a vase, a sword, or some kind of object that could help you when drawing this fire. I chose a hand honestly because it's the first thing that crossed my mind. And if we want to give a magic touch to our illustrations, it never hurts to make a little test before. I remind you that the final project we're going to develop will be applying this to an animal, so the hand has nothing to do with it, just for you to see the result and how it looks. So here we have the hand that I want to use to draw the fire. So you see how it looks, and it's over this hand where I'm going to draw the fire. This time I'm going to use a blue tone in order to differentiate them from the previous orange and green flames, so I can show you can actually use any color. For starters, we're going to make a blurred base with a lighter tone so you see how we could apply it. We can apply some kind of filter so we can see the hand a bit more with some transparency. And I'm going to apply a slight Gaussian blur. It would look like this. So what I'm doing now is creating a new layer with another color in order to give a bit more intensity to its tone and slightly more saturation. And now what I'm doing is these small cuts using the eraser, so it looks like the top layer of the fire has a bit more opacity and tone. Now with another effect layer, I'm adding some touches, which are the ones that let us see the fire like this. And now it's a matter of some small details we can add until we're happy with the outcome. As you can see, it's all about erasing the top layer, blurring a little bit, etc. Adding layers on top to bring some more beams, and well, a matter of trying new things and practicing. And well, this would be the result of the hand we have here. We can see that it has some applications. I'm going to give some plain brightness to the lighting of the hand itself, because as I said before, fire is a source of light. And lastly, I'm going to do a recap so we can see how we did the flame step by step. First, with a dispersion brush, we create a random stain to which we'll apply some Gaussian blur. After applying the Gaussian blur, I'm going to erase a bit of the top of the flame, and we're going to create a new layer. we're going to color this new layer with a lighter tone and with an irregular shape. Then we're going to duplicate the layer and set its blending mode to screen. And after that, we'll erase some shapes. In the bottom layer, I'm going to erase this a bit so it doesn't overlay that much. And then we're going to add another layer in overlay blending mode in order to saturate other parts that we may be more interested on doing so of the drawing. Now it looks much more impressive. And lastly, we're going to be toying around with overlay and screen filters in order to add little details to our illustrations, like little dots maybe. For fire, it's true that the blending modes I use the most are screen and overlay because I think they're the most appropriate and the ones that can bring more richness to the illustration. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. See you soon.